I remember seeing Michael Jackson for the first time, but it was on an award show or something. And I don't remember when it was because my brain doesn't really work like that anymore. Like I just have a vision of it, but I don't have the details. And I remember that being amazing. I remember falling fully in love with Michael Jackson during the Off the Wall days. And I remember my grandmother taking the cassette tapes, children, taking the cassette tape and crushing it because he was talking about an illegitimate child in Billie Jean. She wouldn't let me have it. So I saved my little money that I would scrounge from the back of her car and I bought another one. My grandmother and I were always back and forth, but we both very strong personality, but I get a lot of who I am from her. But in terms of pop culture and hair, I don't remember ever being influenced by any of that because I really did come up in a family that was so like, who you are is who you are. You're not gonna be like anybody else. Don't try to be, you will fail. You know what I mean? Like they're them and you're you. And so I never looked at other people and tried to emulate them. I always was just like, well, and my grandma was always like, you're not pretty, you're smart. You know, so when I got out in a world that said, oh, you're so beautiful, I was always like, what? Like, you don't even know my brain. My brain is way past, but you know, and I had that problem in TV because it's such a world of like how you look. And so it worked because I guess I looked the way they wanted me to, but I was always pissed that they were like just telling me how I look. Like, let me talk about something, you know, like I'm smart. I got a BA in history. So it was a struggle for weird reasons for me. It definitely wasn't typical, and I didn't expect to end up in TV. And when I did, I didn't have any of the ideas of what I should look like. I was just like, this is what I look like. Take it or leave it, because you can't touch my hair, because we will fight, and I will cry. So, me and hip hop are the same age. Hip hop turned 50 this year, and so did I. And I really look back and feel privileged to be in the position I was in at the time hip hop was, you know, a teenager, was coming up, because I really got to see it all and actually interact with it all, right? But my interaction really started, because I can't do it with this ring. Hold on. I'm West Side all day, because I was born in LA and I was raised in San Diego. So when hip hop on the West Coast started, I had just started driving. Is that right? I might have been a little younger than that. But I was in the car with cassette decks, like, you know, when you used to have it in the car. Y'all don't know nothing about that. Some of y'all do. And NWA was my thing. Every single word, waiting for some people to leave. I got another trick up my sleeve, step with pep to the back of the, okay, so, but I could do it all. I could do the whole album. And I remember my friends, and this is the influence that hip hop had on, before I even got to the TV level, just on me as a young girl, right? At 14, I honestly thought I was a gangbanger, was not. But I started dressing like I was. The influence of music, one, us in music, right? All the different ways, hip hop being one of the biggest, two, and then your peer pressure, your friends. Everybody was into it. So I can't say that if it was just the music, it would have been the same, but all my friends were doing the same thing, right? Now the hooties and the low riders, and now all the culture shifted because of hip hop, because of music, because of our influence in music. And then De La Soul and, oh gosh, why can't I think of the name of the group? With the Key, you sissies. Oh, help me, you know it. Abracadabra. Okay, so then X-Clan got me in my militant phase. I was the founder and president of the Black Student Union last 3 years of high school. There had never been anything like it on our campus. I went to performing arts school in San Diego, and we were, you know, had sit-ins about protesting the Iraqi war. I carried a staff to school, like the X-Clan. I went as Angela Davis. It was not Halloween. I just wanted to be Angela Davis. Like, the influx of music carries with it so much else, right? The history of our people got carried into my life through the music of like X-Clan and everybody at the time. Gil Scott-Heron was huge for me, and he wasn't in my era, but they carried it in. They carried the history of someone like a Gil Scott-Heron, who's my mother's era, right, into my life. And so as I continued to progress through life, and then I was at Howard University, HU, and was a history major, and so even more history, right? And the music of that time got me back to West Coast again, because the Chronic dropped when I was in school, and I was like, oh my gosh! It was like the West Coast took over the world. And that was a whole nother thing. I mean, it was, when I think about it, and I don't think about it much, but as I'm thinking about it now, the waves of culture that come in through music and the way it weaves itself into our lives, because it's so intimate. I mean, I mentioned tapes twice, right? That's me in the car by myself with a tape. The tape is the only thing with me. And what it brings is what I'm getting. And that is the power of music. Music is very collective and global, but also very intimate and individual. And for hip hop to come into people's lives on that individual level, I mean, you see the influence. And we're talking about individuals who influence masses individually. Hip hop has been so influential for individuals and collectively. And when you talk about things like hair, I remember when, who did Supersonic is the whack when Pete, JJ Fad, right? JJ Fad had the side cuts and the abstract bobs. Like, every girl at my school started doing that. I'm like, what happened? Everybody's hair is like this. Because of music, because of hip hop, because that one artist decided to do something and it spread across the world, definitely the country. And I'm really happy I got to interface with so much of it, and so much of its artists, and so much of its history, and being able to do the interviews and toss to the videos and tell the stories. And I remember when Jay-Z performed on Teen Summit, like, what? I remember, not a high moment for me, but I remember when Q-Tip put out his first album and came on live MTV with me, and no one showed me the video prior, but you know that militant I became because of X-Clan, she never left. And when I saw all these, you know, semi-naked black women in the video, I was like, what's going on, Tip? Like, why are you gonna do that to us? And I didn't mean it as disrespect. I meant it as the reality I felt it. Like, what happened? You Tribe Called Quest, why are they naked? You know, that's how I felt. And the people who hired me knew how I felt. They knew my mouth, that's why they hired me. But in this case, it backfired because I really shouldn't have. I should have thought about it. It was a moment where this person who was a friend of mine was launching their solo career. I didn't get the bigger picture. I just got my little feeling, right? And that's a moment I really regret on TV. I wish I'd been more gentle and more understanding.